Up next, coming to you from the First Two Conference, we got Mr. Steve Robertson from Columbus, Ohio. Steve's 33 years plus on the job. He's written Stretching for Success, giving you the 5 ways for the engine company to win. He's also done some work on Season 3 with Brass Tacks Hard Facts, bringing you top-notch education from them. Those guys always putting out some great stuff. Thank you, Elkhart Brass, for putting that out. Hope to see you continuing on with that. We had a great conversation with Steve, some of his insight into where he thinks the service is going and what some of our issues are. Steve's a very straightforward kind of guy, makes him very fun to talk to. We enjoyed it. Hope y'all enjoy it. Here's Steve. See you again, sir.
You too, man. How are you?
I'm great. Good to see you back down here at the conference again this year.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite conferences I do all year. Legitimately one of my favorites. The hospitality's unbelievable, and I think Chief Griffith does a great job of keeping the conference not small, but just the right size. And as an instructor, you not only get to bring your message, but you get to spend time with people and actually get to know them, not just meet people, but you get to actually network and go a little deeper than you do at most conferences where you had 500, 600, 700 people. It's a lot harder. You got pulled in all directions. So this is one I really enjoy doing every year.
That's cool. How's things up in your neck of the woods?
Good. Just busy. Stretching for Success has really taken off. And between that and still working at Engine 18 in Columbus, Ohio, it's a lot of time at the firehouse, a lot of time away from the firehouse, and then making up trade time for the firehouse when you get home. Right. So it's a little bit of everything, but it's been good. I'm blessed to be able to do it and spread my message and, just meet good people like you guys.
If you could put kind of your program and what you teach with Stretching for Success, kind of, I don't want to say in a nutshell because that's kind of played out, but if you could put that in like a summary of what that offers, what would it sound like?
Yeah, basically, when we designed the program, it actually all started at the High Rise Operations Conference in Pensacola. Myself, Brian Brush, Captain Bob Morris, Ray McCormick, there's a bunch of us up in the hospitality suite, just hanging out, having a cocktail at the end of the day. And, we started talking, and Chris Martin from Elkhart always has these the gigantic Post-it notes. You put it on the wall, and a lot of things have come from that room. A lot of ideas. You're walking by, there's a pin there, you write something up there. Then somebody else writes something, and before you know it, we start talking about some things and how things can develop from just brainstorming like that. So I walked by, and I just had a thought of the 5 things it takes to win a winning engine company. And I wrote them down. And from there, and at the bottom, I just wrote success. And Brian Brush walked up behind me and said, Stretching for, and wrote it on there.
All right.
So then we took those 5 keys and we started developing, and I developed a lecture, and then I said, well, we got to develop a hands-on program with that. So we started talking about it. Aaron Fields and those guys, Nozzle Ford guys, and there's a lot of guys that were out there then teaching push, which is very important. It was an unsung topic, and it wasn't really taught a lot. Well, the market was really saturated. The U.S. Fire Service was saturated with the push of guys out there doing it, which was great. But nobody was talking about positioning the first apparatus, estimating the stretch, or stretching the first line correctly. So to make that happen, you got to position the apparatus and stretch correctly if the push is going to go well. So we filled in what we felt was a gap in instruction, and added the Stretching for Success portion, which basically is positioning the apparatus, estimating the stretch, and stretching the first line, whether it's a vertical stretch, a horizontal stretch, a short setbacks, long set. All the difficult stretches, splitting cars, or those types of things, courtyards, and going long and going short. So we just basically took those 5 keys that we felt it takes to win and developed the class around it. It just kind of happened that way, and it's taken off, and that's where it is.
I think I heard you say it, and it resonated with me perfectly. And I was just telling these guys about it while everybody was at lunch, but I heard you, I don't know if it was an interview that I heard with you or a class that you were doing, and it's on the internet and all that, and I just heard it. But the way you described it in that particular setting was, you said a lot of the U.S. Fire Department, we teach front door forward all day long. Yep. But the front door backwards was often missed.
And it's like, it's not a sexy thing, but it's one of the most important things. Something as simple as splitting the door and setting up the correct angles and getting the coupling to the door and setting yourself up for a good push. If we don't stretch correctly the first time, you don't get a second shot.
Right.
And you're just going to make the push that much harder. So if we take the reps and position the apparatus, I can honestly say I can't remember the last bad stretch that had good positioning. we have to position the first apparatus correctly. And that goes down to estimating the stretch, because the stretch estimation is going to determine the position of the apparatus. So who was ever taught how to estimate stretch? We got away from it.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
the early
yeah.
90s, late 80s, early 90s, when we went to pre-connected hand lines, we got away from teaching it. And it was simple as, if it's a big house, you take the big line, the long line. If it's a small house, you take the short line.
Right.
Well, it's a lot deeper than that, right? Because if we actually estimate the stretch and determine that I could be 1 or 2 houses past, and I'm eating the excess hose up I don't need, what does that give me? That's going to give the truck a better position in the front. And I'm eating excess hose up and sometimes a very short setback that I don't have to deal with hose I don't need. So we're trying to get that message out there. I think it's slowly starting to catch on. I mean, the U.S. Fire Service is a big place.
Sure.
But I think people are at least starting to talk about it. And having the conversation is half the battle, in my opinion.
Sure.
It's getting at the kitchen table like, hey, what did you learn at that conference, right? So those are the kind of the concepts behind it, that if we do this right the first time, the rest of it's gravy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like the nuts and bolts to benchmarks, like water supply, stretching to the front door,
Yep.
setting up RIT. Like it's not just checking the box. We stretch
No.
the line to the front door. It's the how to do it.
But you're an engine company. That is your job. That is your primary job, is stretching that first line correctly. And to me, there's no excuse for not being exceptional. I think one of the other problems we have, and I hit it in my new class, I'll talk about it here a little bit at 3:00, and that's mediocrity in the fire service. We've started to accept mediocrity as an accepted practice. Well, if you're coming to my house or for my family, mediocrity is not okay. Okay is not good enough for me. Good is not good enough for me. You have to be better than good at this job. Because if you're not better than good, don't show up at my house.
Sure.
I don't need you. I don't want you to go be a banker. You aren't going to hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Right? But I need people that want to be better than good. Because when you have that standard of better than good, we're human beings, we make mistakes on every fire. This is 33 years of my mistakes. This class is 33 years of my mistakes and how we problem solve to overcome those mistakes. Well, we failed a bunch trying to come up with a teachable solution to common problems. We failed a lot as a crew. But when we did succeed and we did find a teachable way to split cars, and we did find a teachable way with bundles to split balconies and different things and going vertical, you know what that did to morale in my engine company? It went through the roof, because we were months trying to vet this thing to make sure it worked, right? So, succeeding is a big deal, but failing is a big deal. As long as you're failing as a crew and continue to work forward, it's a big deal. Shannon Stone says it a lot. My buddy, great. If you've never seen one of his classes, Nuggets from the Right Front Seat, it's one of my all-time favorite classes. But he uses a line that never apologize for your expectations being higher than the divisions. Because I've never been on a perfect fire. So you guys been on a perfect fire?
No.
We make mistakes.
Yeah.
So when you hold your expectations higher than the divisions and you make mistakes, you're still going to fall well above division standards.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're at. That's where we're better than good, right? Good. Their standards are good. We're better than good because we still fall above that standard. So that's kind of how I roll with it. It's just important to me that the bosses get back to being bosses and stop worrying about whether you're going to go drink beer with me tonight or not. I don't care.
Right.
I'm still your boss. That's just the way it is.
When are you talking about the mistakes? Like, I hate making mistakes.
So this is something we came up with. When I got to the 3rd Battalion back in 2010, we had a fire. And I didn't think it went well at all. And everybody, fire went out. We could have done this a little bit, could have done this. And I looked right at everybody when it got to me as a boss. And I went, what fire were you guys on? Because this sucked. This was ridiculous, right? So I thought about it. And then I called my battalion chief. I said, Chief, I don't care what order I show up in on the fire. I want to talk first next fire. I said, I don't care when, I'm going to go first. Well, I was the senior boss in the battalion at the time. So I think we were 2nd or 3rd. And I'm like, yeah, we should have done this. And here's why. I screwed up. I should have positioned here. I should have looked at this. I should have looked at that. And I had all these young officers looking like, holy crap, this old man just like threw it on the table that he made a bunch of mistakes. And the floodgates opened. And ever since then, our critiques have turned into true critiques, not, hey, the fire went out, everybody goes home. No, that's not a critique.
Right.
We have to talk about those mistakes right then. But by having your senior guys go first and open up and show the younger officers it's okay to be a human being.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a little bit vulnerable. That's where the rubber meets the road, and then everybody starts opening up, and then we actually have a true critique of ourselves and realize we still got work to do. So that's how we do it. That's how I started it, and it seems to be working really well. If the senior officer's willing to do it and throw it out there, man, those young officers will open up and start having true critiques instead of hugs, you know?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Given the, I guess, the correct perspective, a failure, I mean, it's a good thing. It's an opportunity to learn.
It's a good thing if you continue to solve the problem. So let me give you an example. When's the last fire that you were on that you didn't put out, that you went home before it was out?
Never.
Okay, when's the last EMS run you didn't either pronounce them dead, fix their problem, or take them to the hospital?
Right.
Never. You do that, right?
Right.
But if I sit here right here today, and I want you to think of your last 3 working fires, can you think of one mistake made, the same mistake on all 3 fires? Big or little? I bet you can think of one thing that went wrong on all 3 fires, and it was the same thing. So we fix everybody else's mistakes or everybody else's problems, right? Who's fixing ours?
Right.
Who's fixing our problems? We're problem solvers by nature, but we will not solve our own problems because you're not humble enough to yourself in the job to admit what?
You're
Mistakes.
That I'm a human being and I make mistakes. So I've got to have some vulnerability there, and I got to throw it out there that I'm a human being and I don't know everything as the company officer. And I got to be humble enough to do that if you're truly going to fail together and work to have teachable solutions to common problems.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel about it. I think it's important that guys get a little more humble, and it's okay to be a little more vulnerable as a company officer. Like, you don't have to know everything, because you don't. I'll guarantee you don't. Right?
Yeah.
I still talk to Ray McCormick. I talk to Mike Champo. I get a crazy run. Ray, what do you think of this? Well, you know what? Do you think Ray McCormick as a mentor is always nice about what he says to me when I screw something up?
I guarantee it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
Because he's going to tell me the truth. Mike Champo, Steve, you shouldn't have done that. You really screwed the truck, and here's why. Mike, I never thought of that, right? That's called growing, right? Neither of them are mad at me, but it doesn't mean that they're going to tell me everything I want to hear.
Right. They're making you better.
They're making me better. And you just got to be honest with yourself. And I think that's where it starts.
Yeah. Honest with yourself and honest with your accountability,
To everybody.
like who it is. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do you think this accountability for ourselves and all that, or just being able to be humble, where do you think that kind of started diminishing away?
I think it started diminishing away when people were worried about getting their feelings hurt. And bosses got to the point where they're worried about being your friend instead of your boss. I really believe that. Because, and look, this is not going to be a popular statement, but I really don't care. This is not a democracy.
Sure.
This is not a democracy. I am your boss. I'm going to tell you my expectations. I'm going to give you all the tools to meet those expectations. If you don't meet those expectations, there are a thing called consequences. Mm-hmm. It's very simple. I don't have to be a jerk. Here they are. I've given you abilities to meet those, and you are not meeting them. So either we're going to unscrew this together, or there's consequences to that.
Right.
It's not that hard.
Right.
But we're worried about hurting people's feelings. I'm sorry you got your feelings hurt. And if you're really that emotionally attached to somebody tell you you're not doing a good job, maybe this isn't the right career for you.
Yeah.
I don't mean that. I'm not trying to be a jerk when I say that. I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm being a realist that as a tax-paying citizen of the city of Columbus, Ohio, I have expectations of you knowing and doing your job. It's that simple.
Yeah, you don't call any other tradesman or specialty company, electrician or plumber or anything like that, and show up and then not know how to fix your problem.
So here's the thing: the electrician screws up. Your electrician screws up. You flip the switch; it doesn't go on. You get to call him back and tell him to fix that.
Right.
What do we get when we do that? When we screw it up, what happens? Does
Somebody-
the homeowner know the difference?
Probably not.
Probably not. And we're not going to go out there and say we screwed up, but we sure can do it inside. And that's where I controversial statement, probably, we should be held higher to a higher standard as far as our performance. Our performance should be held to a higher standard. I believe that. I truly do. You make mistakes. We make mistakes. We're human beings. I'm okay with that. But when we make the same mistake over and over and over,
What are you doing?
we're not learning,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's the biggest issue.
Yeah, it just sounds like you're kind of just chalking it up to, yeah, we made a mistake, but we're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah, because I don't want to talk about it, because that's not good. If I talk about it, then I'm showing vulnerability as a boss that I don't know my job. Or that boss that runs the same drill every time you drill. You ever had that boss? Mm-hmm. Every time you go out to drill, he runs the exact same drill. Well, why does he do that?
He's really good at that one.
Because he knows everything and anything there is to know about that drill, and he can answer any question about it. He's not going to put it out there that he doesn't know everything. That's not a good boss. You got to learn too. You got to learn too. It's that simple.
Yeah, I even said that with Alan earlier when we had him up here. I was talking about, how your programs have kind of developed along the way. And I've heard you speak on the internet. I've heard you speak last year here. And you just said you had new material for the new class.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's constantly evolving.
The new class is Engine Company Tactical Traps. So we're going to talk about knee wall fires and attic fires and void space fires, balloon frame construction, basement fires. We're going to talk about car fires. Well, that's not a sexy topic, is it?
Right.
Yeah. Pull up the intraweb and look at the intraweb and see how many times we screw that up. So we're going to talk about some things that are common mistakes that are made on car fires and some pitfalls that we need to look out for. I'm going to touch on a lithium-ion fires. I'm not an expert in lithium-ion, but I have some very interesting numbers I got from some guys that are experts in it. And I think the numbers, if nothing else, are eye-opening. Mike Ciampo's going to jump in. FDNY is doing some new stuff. I think he gave me the number of 150%. Their lithium-ion battery fires are up like 150% so far this year.
Mercy. They're
not going away. This is not going away. So we've all kind of turned our head to it like, it's not that big of a deal. When you see the numbers today, you're going to see it's a little more in depth, and it's coming whether we like it or not.
Yeah, they're going daily.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and then we're going to talk about type 2 fires, your family dollar stores, your dollar stores, your auto parts stores, and the pitfalls. There's some big pitfalls with those type 2 style buildings that we don't do them a lot, but when we do them, we tend to make some pretty big mistakes. So just a quick 2-hour class. So it's just some nuggets on each one of those things. And, if nothing else, hopefully spark some good conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I want to, before I let you go, you've been heavily involved with brass tacks and hard facts lately.
Yes.
How in the world did that come about? They couldn't have, before I let you answer, they couldn't have possibly picked a better person because you do excellent at it. But how did that all come about?
Man, first and foremost, what an honor. I mean, I come and I say this not because I'm part of it, but you look at the names that have done it. It's like an Engine Company Hall of Fame.
Sure.
And to be asked to be included in that, I was first and foremost just completely humbled by it. Jerry Herbst and Chris Martin approached me at FDIC last year, not this year, the year before. And Jerry comes up and says, "Hey, man, you got him in." And he looked real serious. And I've known Jerry and Chris a long time. I'm like, what the hell's going on? What'd I do? Like, am I in trouble? Like I was going to the principal's office or something, right? So we walk out back to the tower and he goes, "Hey, I got a question to ask you." I say, "What's up?" He's like, "Would you be interested in doing Brass Tacks Hard Facts Season 3? And I'm like, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Wow. Yeah." I mean, so we came up with topics of what I wanted to do, and they were very awesome. They were very great to work with about pretty much allowing me to, they had some things they wanted to cover and wanted me to cover, but they literally are awesome about letting you kind of steer your message.
Yeah.
And I talked to Jerry the other day. I'm starting a 12-day run here on the road, and I'm with him the next after this week, we're in South Bend, Indiana, and Notre Dame, and then from there we go straight to Pocatello, Idaho. But you get up there and you're there and you're watching everything, and next thing you know, it's your turn, and it's like, this is a true production set. This isn't me or Mike Ciampo or Ray out there with an iPhone.
Yeah,
there's 3 to 4 cameras on you all the time. There's a drone in the air. They got you mic'd and lights and move this board here and this. It takes longer for those guys to set the shot up than it does to actually shoot it. So, and I practice my things and I have my storyboards and my bullets and I'm going through my stuff and I get through the first one. And I did it on like 2 or 3 takes. And I'm like, Jerry's like, "That was outstanding." I'm like, "Yeah, man, I feel good." I nutted it first time out. Like, it's great. The director, Brian Kerr, looks at me and goes, That was awesome, Steve. Now do it again. I said, do what again? He's like,
The whole
the
thing.
whole thing. And I'm like, what? I have no idea what I just said. Like, right?
Yeah.
Like, how am I?
Yeah.
So it was, as an instructor, and I've been teaching a long time, but as an instructor, it was super challenging. But at the same time, wow, what a great experience. And Jerry he said they have over 1 million views in season 3.
Yeah.
So it's
really good.
it's just a blessing. And like I said, I've been blessed to have the opportunity as I've had to be out on the road and do things. And my wife allows me to do it. She comes with me a lot. She started a new job, so she's not happy she's not here because she loves the beach. But if it says beach in it, she's usually with me.
Right.
For sure.
You know, but so I'm just blessed to be able to do it and be asked to do that. And with that, and like I said, you go back through it. Any young engine guys or even old engine guys or company officers, man, you go watch 3 of those videos a day. 3 of those videos a shift. They're 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, they're short. Yeah, they're good.
You got 15 minutes worth of training in every one of them. And you're talking Kurt Isaacson, Dennis Laguerre, John Hall, Dave Furnell. You go right down the line, Eric Tolan, Kurt Isaacson. I mean, you go right down the line of Daryl Liggins from Oakland. You know what I mean? It's like, it's pretty cool. Ray McCormick, Dave McGrail. You go right through it. It's like, wow, to be asked to be a part of that, to me was very special. And the whole experience was special. But hats off to Brian Kerr, the director, because his editing skills, man, he makes you look good. He makes you look like you didn't miss a beat. I'm telling you, it's a little harder than that. And Shay and Derek, the 2 guys that run the hand line, man, talk about 2 underrated guys that are true professionals, because they absolutely killed moving hose and hitting marks and doing the actual hands-on portion of it. They make a mistake, we start over.
Right.
And they were on it. They really did a fine job. So, and like my favorite one, I think, was when I did the second line off the same standpipe. That's not something a lot of people talk about.
Right.
So to be able to get through that and explain that, and to have Captain Bill Guston call you and say, Steve, that was an outstanding job. That was a great episode. You hit all the, when you have a guy that I've looked up to my entire career and I've read everything he's ever wrote. I've sat through his standpipe class no less than 10 times, and I still walk out with 2 pages of notes each time I do it, stuff I hadn't heard before. So to have a guy like that reach out makes you feel really good that your work and the time and the passion and the blood, sweat, and tears that you've put in over the years, when you get something like that from a guy like that, it makes you feel good that your time and effort was worth it.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, yeah, Brass Tacks was great. Look it up if you haven't had that. And their app's awesome. They got a high rise app on there to figure pump discharge pressure. That you can put in. You can put in your 14-story building. Here's your friction loss on this. Here's your friction loss on your supply loads, your tack hose. Calculate. It tells you what to pump the building at. Who pumps high rise building fires every day?
Nobody.
No.
Yeah,
Right.
not around here anyway.
No, but nobody, right? So FTY probably does the most, but the point I'm making is you're not going to remember all those numbers. So why not cheat the system a little bit, have that Brass Tacks hard facts calculator, and good things can happen, right? So that's another thing that you can do that helps and can work. So Brass Tacks hard facts was great, and it's a great asset. I think it's a great thing. So yeah, thanks for that question. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, good.
I'm glad to hear.
They're going to do it again, I think. I just don't know when.
Nice. I'm glad to hear you said you go to classes multiple times.
Oh, absolutely.
I do that. Like, I'll watch the same video multiple
Yeah.
times. Glad to. Maybe I'm not a weirdo.
No, not at all. And here's the thing: as an instructor, I don't think I've ever taught the same class twice. There's always something. I always get something new, and I add something, or I add something new. I just got this. That would be great here. So most guys tweak their class every time.
Yeah, improve.
Yeah, because it constantly changes, right?
Yeah, that's the true perfection of a craft.
Absolutely.
It's constantly evolving.
Absolutely. So.
Cool. Well, we won't hold you up too
All right,
much
buddy.
longer. I know you got a whole lot.
Yep, I'm gonna get ready.
Steve,
to
we
teach,
appreciate it.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
guys. I
thanks
look
for coming.
forward to spending the rest of the week with you and catching up.
Sounds
Appreciate
good. Thank you so
having
much.
me. All right, take
Absolutely.
care.